officers in the chamber today.
Thank you, Pamela, and good afternoon and welcome to this multi-location meeting of the Democratic Services Committee on Monday, the 27th of November. I am Councillor Saifur Rahman. I am your chair for this committee. Apologies, I wasn't able to make to the chamber today, so I'm also joining remotely from home. Please ensure that your phone are switched to silent for the duration of the meeting. In addition, when asked to raise your hand, if members who are virtually viewing this meeting could raise your electronic hand, and for members in the chamber, just raise your hand. I'm sure Pamela will help me out here if those members are in chamber. Just to make you all aware, today's meeting will be recorded. Right. Just a second, let me go to the agenda. Okay, agenda item 1, declaration of interest. Members, are there any declaration of interest? Could you please indicate if there are any?
I can see no indications, Chair.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. We move on to item number 2, the minutes of previous meeting. You will see the minutes attached at page 3 to 6 of your agenda pack. Members, if you feel these are accurate record of the meeting, can I please have a proposer and a seconder to approve these minutes?
Happy to propose, Chair.
Happy to second, Chair.
Chair can confirm.
Okay, thank you. If members do not indicate to the contrary, then I would take that these minutes are approved. Pamela?
Yes, I can confirm, Chair, those minutes are approved.
Thank you. Moving on to item 3 then, forward work program. This item is just for noting, unless members have any comments. Any comments from members on the forward work program? No, okay, I don't see any. Thank you. Then we move on to agenda item 4. This report is here for decision today and is on page 11 to page 56 of the agenda pack. We just scroll down. Item itself is titled Independent Remuneration Panel for Wales Draft Annual Report 2024. Is Stacey or is it Craig? Would you like to take this report, please?
That's me, Chair. Good afternoon, members. So in front of you is the usual draft report you will see at this time of year from the Independent Remuneration Panel for Wales. Like, it's harder to say every year as well. And it's advising members of the draft proposal set out by that committee, which will inform the 24-25 civic year. So this is the draft, and you'll receive then the final report in about February time, where they've taken into consideration all the feedback and the consultation, and they'll be then providing their final recommendations in about February time. So this time of year, Democratic Services are asked to note the proposals. The consultation period is until the 8th of December, and all members have been sent a copy of the report if they wish to provide a consultation response in their own right. But if the Democratic Services Committee are minded to send any observations, we will obviously do that as a committee. So I just wanted to highlight the main points from the draft. So you can see on page 12 the proposed remuneration for the salaried positions. So you can see the uplift proposed there. And it's worth noting there's no further changes proposed to elements such as travel and subsistence, care and personal assistance, sickness, absence, etc. The main change they are proposing is to co-opted members. Currently, co-opted members are paid a flat half-day or full-day rate for their attendance and preparation at meetings. But the feedback they've received from heads of democratic services across Wales is that given the way people work these days, there is an increased instance of online shorter briefings. For example, they might sit in on a half-an-hour briefing for a meeting, but they'll get paid a half-day rate. So the proposal is to introduce this hourly rate also for the remuneration of those sorts of incidences. They'll still get paid a half day and a full day where applicable, if there's a full day training or a full day meeting or a half day meeting, but this extra element of an hourly rate to remunerate for when there are shorter online briefings, which is, as we know, the way the world is going these days. So that's the main change to co-opted members, and you can see the proposed rates there then on page 13. The only slight change as well is in the consultation this time, the IRPW are asking members for their personal input, particularly around question 4. It's in relation to how aware members are about some of the things they can be remunerated for. So obviously that isn't something that I'll be able to represent on any member's behalf. So that is where members will be encouraged to respond personally to the consultation. So what we are proposing in relation to those questions is, after any discussion here today, you authorise myself in liaison with the chair to submit a consultation response on behalf of the authority. It might just be that, yes, we approve and we agree with the proposals, or if there's any dissent, I can obviously capture that. I'll share that with the chair and we'll agree a response. But I will also be writing to all members again, asking them that there is these questions to respond to in your personal capacity, which I can't do on your behalf. So if you would wish any of your comments to be taken on board, you will need to do so through that avenue. So the recommendations are on page 15 and 16, Chair, and I'm happy to answer any questions that I can, but obviously this is a report from the IRPW, so we are obligated. It's not something within the Council's control. This is what the IRPW are proposing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Stacey. Members, I'll open up for any questions. Any questions for officers on this report? No? Okay, thank you. The recommendations are listed on page 15 and 16 of the agenda pack. Can I have a proposer and a seconder, please?
Happy to propose, Chair.
Happy to second, Chair.
Thank you very much. Can member please indicate if they wish to abstain?
Chair, I can see no abstentions.
Thank you, Pamela. Members, if you do not indicate to the contrary, then I will take that this recommendation is approved.
Chair, I can see no indication to the contrary, so this recommendation is approved.
Okay, the next item is agenda item 5, members' annual report. These are on pages 57 to 68. This report is here for decision. I'll hand over to, is it Stacey?
Yes, me again, Chair. Thank you. So this will be familiar to members. This is members' annual report scheme, and I do apologise, this doesn't change particularly, but we are constrained by legislation on this one. So this is our obligation to remind members that you are able to prepare an annual report, and I am obligated to remind you to do so. And this is Democratic Services Committee authorising me to remind members that you are able to submit an annual report. Members, it's not something that's taken up particularly by members. Feedback is, in this day and age, an annual report is not particularly in fitting with the times. People say that it would be far more beneficial to do a blog or a vlog or a Instagram post or something along those lines, but we are constrained by legislation which hasn't kept up with the technology of the day. So at the minute we are still constrained to an annual report scheme. The council does have an annual report scheme and a draft pro forma which we've attached. So this is just quite a technical thing that I'm reminding members that if you authorise me to do so today, that members are able to produce an annual report should they so wish, and the scheme is attached. And that's basically it, Chair. I don't know if there's any questions. Thank you.
Members, do you have any questions? Stacey, would you be able to give us an indication of since the last election, if there are any members took up this option of producing an annual report, and did it go up on the website?
You're looking at single figures there, Chair, two or three perhaps. They always get published on the website though, as and when they're received. But again, I think the feeling is I don't really know how much value people hold with them, given the current technologies of the day. But yeah, very, very few.
Okay, thank you, Stacey. Members, do you have any questions then? If not, then can I take you to the recommendation which are listed on page 59 of the agenda pack? Can I please have a proposer and a seconder, please?
Happy to propose, Chair.
Happy to second, Chair.
Thank you. We have a proposer and a seconder. Can members please indicate if you wish to abstain?
Chair can confirm that there's no abstentions.
You members, if you do not indicate to contrary, then I will take it that this recommendation is approved.
Chair, I can see no indications to the contrary, so this recommendation is approved.
Okay, now we move on to agenda item 6, members' personal development. Again, this is for decision, and the report is here on page 69 to 90 of the agenda pack. Who's taking this, please?
That's me again, Chair. So this is another one, I'm afraid, that we are duty bound by legislation to remind members of. So this is members' ability to have a personal development review undertaken. So this is just, again, asking me to remind members that they are able to do so. And they are duty bound to remind members they have an opportunity to have a review of their training and development needs on an annual basis. So this is the scheme that the council have put in place, which is the same as most other authorities. And previously, we've had a small cohort of members from across political groups who've been trained by the WLGA to undertake these peer reviews. These have been taken up more than the annual report scheme. I think it's dwindled a little bit, but we do see this as a little bit more successful than the annual reports. So when we do have the responses from these, they are confidential, but we have been able to pull out some training needs which have informed the training programme for members. So it's just a reminder really that programme exists. And I'm asking that we approach the group leaders to identify some members who would be willing to be trained to be peer reviewers, because they have to undertake a little bit of training with the WLGA. We need to update that obviously every year as the cohort changes. So it's just noting the scheme and approving me to take that forward with the group leaders and then with the wider members should they wish to undertake a review of this kind. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Stacey. I'll take questions now. I can see Peter.
Thank you, Chair. Stacey, I just wanted to know, is it mandatory, these training things, or are they optional?
Optional, Councillor Rees, yeah, optional.
Thank you. And that applies to the annual report as well?
Yes, exactly the same with that, optional, yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, members, are there any questions, please, on this report? No, okay. Can I take you to the recommendation then, please, listed on page 71 of the agenda pack? Can I have a proposer and a seconder, please?
Happy to propose, Chair.
Thank you. Seconder, please.
Councillor Goldup-John, I think you're on mute.
No, we can't hear you, Nathan. Okay, so we got a proposer. We can't hear Nathan. Is there a seconder here, please, that we can hear? Sonia, thank you very much. Can members please indicate if you wish to abstain?
Chair, I can see no abstentions.
Thank you, Pamela. Members, if you do not indicate to the contrary, then I will take it that this recommendation is approved.
Chair, I can see no indication to the contrary, so this recommendation is approved.
Great. Thank you. Okay, agenda number 7 now. Proposal to establish a task and finish group on handling harassment, abuse and intimidation for councillors. This is on page 91 to page 98. I'm now going to hand over to, is it Craig or is it Stacey this time?
No, this time you get to hear from myself, Chair. So I think Stacey's done enough in this
Okay,
meeting, so it's
over
over to me almost for these last two items. So thank you, Chair. This is following up a report that we brought to members earlier this year with regards to some work that the Welsh Local Government Association and Local Government Association have been undertaking in respect of members who are victims of harassment or abuse or intimidation within the community as a result of their role as a councillor. And we referred you to a number of guidance notes which had been sort of released by those organisations, and which also provided some practical steps as to what can happen in these particular scenarios. There were a couple of different objectives which were particularly put on organisations to look at as a way of trying to support elected members in their own council to take these matters forward. And you'll note on page 92 of your report, we've listed some of those there and what the NPT response has been. So, for example, appointing an officer to undertake a role as a sounding board for any councillor or officer. That's myself, obviously supported by Stacey then as our head of democratic services as well. Have different documents and policies in place. We, of course, have our code of conduct, our local resolution protocol, and various other strategies, as well as encourage to ensure that members are protected and are aware of different obligations on them. One of the key elements, though, that this report identified was a council policy effectively being created, which helps to bring all of these different elements together, provide some further guidance for elected members as to what they should do if they ever find themselves in this position, and perhaps trying to demonstrate a more local version of these policies and protocols out there. So we thought this could be a project for the Democratic Services Committee to work on in that regard. But before we start going in to write various documents or bring back strategies ultimately for you to start considering, we thought the best way maybe to look at this would be a sort of task and finish group, which comprising this group here and any other members you think could be beneficial to be added to it as well, to find out what you face in the community. What sort of issues are you coming across at the moment? We can then make this policy, strategy, protocol, whatever it is we end up calling it, as relevant to you then as members as we can make it, because it will address some of those concerns ultimately that you are facing. And it could encapsulate a wide number of issues, for example, social media abuse, harassment, intimidation, constituency work, member related matters. There's so many different aspects we could potentially bring under the scope of this. So a task and finish group to understand what your concerns are, what you're seeing on the ground, would be beneficial to ourselves as officers, because that way then we can start developing something which meets your needs and then could ultimately meet the council's needs as well. So what we would propose is a brief task and finish group. So maybe 1 or 2 meetings that takes place in the early part of 2024 to get the information from you, which we can then turn into a document, which will come back before Democratic Services Committee to endorse before it's rolled out to the wider members throughout the council. So we've given some ideas within the proposal there that we would look at this policy protocol, how we could develop more briefings and training for councillors, and also as well bringing in some stakeholders in that regard. So whether it's South Wales Police, WLGA, LGA, so you can hear from a variety of different sources what information is out there. And then perhaps fundamentally then, what more could we as a council be doing to try and mitigate the risk to councillors in the event of severe intimidation or threats? And it also ties in quite nicely to this next report we're going to have on diversity and democracy, and that we want to ensure that becoming a councillor is a safe, trusted role, and you are supported to the maximum extent possible. So this is all part of that strategy about making sure that we can support you in your role as elected members. So short group envisaging in the new year, and we would welcome any sort of feedback and comments at that meeting, so then we can devise those documents accordingly, Chair. So happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Craig. Sonia, please.
Thank you. I think this is it's a good idea to take a look at this. I don't have any doubts that things have got a lot worse since the pandemic in terms of people's actions and attitudes. I think that was confirmed in part by statements from the Minister for Education in Welsh Government over the last few days, where he's, indicating the problems that are occurring in education in this regard, behaviour, etc. I'm definitely seeing things in my own community. I'm definitely having wider problems than I've ever had before. The 20-mile-an-hour speed limit was a case in point, online abuse, and it wasn't even my fault. They were complaining about just across the border in Carmarthenshire, not even our own area. So it was, but it was coming across at councillors in general, and it was problematic. I banned more people from my Facebook page over 2 weeks than I had done for several years. So it is a problem, and it would be useful to talk about it. It would also be useful to look at any information that's being provided that may be being gathered in the education sphere or other places about thoughts about why this is happening, why there's a change in culture, and what some of the underlying issues are. As a council, it will impact our whole, the whole of the well-being of our population and our people. So we have to stop and think about the wider symptoms and issues that are creating this.
Thank you, Sonia, and I totally agree with everything you've said. I think being in local politics or whatever level of politics, I think sometimes people out there forget that behind politics, we are a human being, and we have life, we have feelings, and we want to do the right thing. And I totally understand sometimes doing the right thing may not be pleasing to all, but it is a difficult position to be in, and I really welcome this task and finish group being established. Okay, members, any other questions on this? I don't see any further indication. So the recommendations are listed on page 96 of the agenda pack. Can I please have a proposer and a seconder, please?
Happy to propose, Chair.
Happy to second, Chair, if you can hear me this time.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Can members please indicate if you wish to abstain?
I can see no abstentions, Chair.
Members, if you do not indicate to the contrary, then I will take it that this recommendation is approved.
Chair, I can see no indication to the contrary, so this recommendation is approved.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next item, which is a proposal again to establish a task and finish group on diversity in democracy. This is on page 99 to page 110. Craig, over to you, please.
Thank you, Chair, and apologies. I think I'm just creating work for you all by creating a number of task and finish groups on various matters. So apologies in advance is all I can really say in this one. Just to follow up on obviously what we just said in the previous report, what we're going to try and aim to do is do these under sort of one umbrella session. So rather than create a number of separate meetings in members' diary, we'll have a two-pronged meeting. The first one to look at the first half of the meeting looking at the harassment and intimidation, the second element to look at diversity and democracy, because we're conscious you've all got busy diaries and trying to accommodate all various elements. But this is a programme of work that effectively started back in 2020 and 2021, and it was something that Democratic Services Committee were involved with at that point, and it led to reports ultimately going to the full council as well for endorsement. There was a sort of recommendation that local government and local authorities look at developing diversity and democracy programmes. Obviously, diversity is very important in respect of the role of County Borough Council, and to make sure that our elected members represent the community in which they have been appointed. So the WLGA embarked on quite an ambitious programme at that point to try and ensure that council chambers were more representative of their communities. And there were a number of different protocols, documents and guidance put in place, various different social media campaigns, publicity, etc., to be able to push the agenda of standing as elected member for the May 2022 elections. There was a commitment then made by this council to become a diverse council. And one of the obligations then as part of that was to provide a clear public commitment to improving diversity, which our council did, but most importantly to set out an action plan of activity that we would be embarking on ahead of the 2022 local government elections. That action plan was endorsed by Democratic Services Committee at that point, and a draft of the protocols that were ultimately adopted are included now at Appendix 1 of your report. So as you'll see when you look at the action plan, we've also put position against each one, and there are a significant number which are still ongoing at present because they're not necessarily start and end. It's something that's always going to be ongoing, and what the work of the Democratic Services team, the elections team and myself have in trying to develop this going forward. Some of them were specific proposals that needed to be actioned, and we've aimed to give you an update there as to where we've got to, and obviously then hopefully you can see that the majority have been completed. So that, in effect, brings to the end of stage 1 of our process. Given that where we are in the current election cycle, it's still early days, obviously, and what we want to look at now is how we can enhance the diversity and democracy protocol that we put in place and our action plan to encourage representations further. So the proposal again would be a very short task and finish group, so we can hear directly from yourself as members. What more do you think could be undertaken to improve diversity in our democratic mandate? We would then take that information back to update our protocol and then bring it back before Democratic Services Committee to endorse. But rather than us coming up with various proposals, which we've taken from our own experiences and knowledge, what the WLGA and other organisations say, we wanted to make sure that you as members had an opportunity to feed into that at an earlier stage before we start drafting something later we'll be asking you to endorse. So again, short task and finish group just to be established, to take your views, and we can hear some examples from yourself as what more we can be undertaking, because we want to try and ensure as wide a diverse group of councillors as possible. So again, just before you to ask for the creation of this task and finish group, Chair, happy to take any questions the members may have.
Thank you, Craig. Members, I'll open for questions. Okay, I don't see any indication. Craig, can I just ask, so the two task and finish group, would they be combined into one and have two separate parts, or do they have to be specifically separate meetings itself?
Sorry, Chair, we're going to aim to try and have them on the same day. So rather than, there'll be two separate task and finish groups ultimately, but we'll have them meeting at the same time. So for example, a 2-hour session, the first hour would be harassment, intimidation to members. Second element, diversity and democracy. We're just conscious of not overburdening members' diaries commitments. So we'll try and find a way to structure this with as ease as possible to accommodate everyone.
And final one for me then, if we are to look at inviting some external organization or body, is that allowed within the task and finish group's remit?
It absolutely is, Chair, in that sense. And I think we'd be interested in hearing from a variety of different sources. The first meeting of this task and finish group will be for you as members to help set your agenda about what you'd like to discuss. If you feel that you wish to take the opportunity to hear from some experts in this area, not that Stacey and I, well, I don't know, I think if Stacey and I say we're probably not experts, but we will be doing our hardest to try and do this. But we'll make sure that if there are people you want to hear from, we'll try and find ways to accommodate those wishes within the remit of the task and finish group to make this as wide ranging as possible.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. Okay, members, if you don't have any questions, then please, if I could take you to the recommendation listed on page 102 of the agenda pack. Can I please have a proposer and a seconder, please?
Happy to propose, Chair.
Happy to second, Chair.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Can members please indicate if they wish to abstain?
I can see no abstentions, Chair.
Members, if you do not indicate to the contrary, then I will take it that this recommendation is approved.
Chair, I can see no indication to the contrary, so this recommendation is approved.
Thank you, Pamela. Okay, agenda item 9, urgent items. I have no urgent item today, so just that it just leaves me to say thank you very much all for attending today, and have a good remaining of the day.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Chair.
Thanks, excellent.